is to be genuine, to have a genuine empathy for the people. And sometimes when you are at a higher level, I would say, of the organization, we might forget a little bit where we come from. And I think my family has helped me, raised me to make sure I don't forget that and to have the genuine empathy. And I think in Malaysia, it's really what happened. I talk to them as a normal guy, not as a CEO, and I try to solve problems with them. We had kind of a deal, say, okay, if I solve this 3 problems, do you stop the strike? They say yes.
Hello, I'm Isabelita Castillo, an executive career transition advisor. Welcome to the 9th episode of Coffee with Top Elite Executives. I'll be speaking to the creme de la creme, senior leaders and managers who have crossed my path along my career journey and truly impressed me based on their exceptional leadership skills and charisma. My goal and mission is to share with my audience insights and expertise that can be followed as a success formula. Today's guest is a senior leader from the industrial sector, a passionate sportsman since 40 years old, from judo to volleyball, rowing at the national level, boy Thai competition, and lastly but not least, several times a triathlon racer who turned his endurance, energy, and determination into becoming a successful executive across Europe, Americas, Africa, and Asia. Now I invite you to join me in welcoming Michel Moulin. Michel, first of all, thank you so much for being here today and for wanting to spare your time to share your advice and expertise with my audience. Now, you sound like a born champion to me and a natural source of endless energy. Why don't we start by you telling us a little bit more about yourself?
Well, based on the introduction you have done, I feel like more Superman, but this is not true. This is not true. So thank you very much for this very nice introduction. And it's really a pleasure to be part of your channel and to meet you today. And hopefully the audience will enjoy this discussion and sharing. So you are right. You know, when I was born, my mom was a sport teacher and I had no choice but to start doing sports. So yes, I started when I was 4 years old in judo. Wow. And I did many sports all my life. I still do. And lastly, I do triathlon, which is swimming, biking, and running for those who don't know exactly. And I did a 3 times Ironman finisher, which was quite a challenge because, of course, you need a lot of preparations. I didn't win anything. I'm not a champion to win any race, but at least to finish, I was very, very happy to do so. Asking about my background, I am an engineer and a finance background, which was, I would say, kind of very, very useful at the beginning of my career. And yes, I was lucky and fortunate to travel and live in different countries and continents. I live in North America for 10 years, in Asia for more than 6 years. I'm right now in China, by the way. Of course, I live in Europe and in Germany, but you were also talking about Africa. I didn't live really in Africa, but I had the opportunity to run operations and business either in North Africa or South Africa.
Wow, this is really fascinating. And when you say you're not a Superman, then describe a Superman to me, right? Because for me, I have no doubts about it.
Oh, well, you are nice. Okay, Superman, you have the one which you see on the TV, you know. So this is the one, and you have so many Superman. But no, honestly, I think I was really lucky to have been raised in a family where there was a lot of energy, positive energy, and this positive energy was, I would say, used to do sport and athletic things. But at the same time, to develop and my career with a willingness to grow. Either vertically, because I've been more than 20 years now president and CEO of different companies, but also horizontally, I should say, in different continents of the planet. And I was really lucky to meet very nice people with different culture. And it really humbles you because nobody knows everything unless you discover more and more and more.
You're absolutely right, Michel. And I believe that, you know, the fact that you have been in the middle of so many cultures and also, having to go through so much endurance resistance, not only physically but mentally, to be able to go through, an Ironman so many times and the triathlon as well. I think that probably helped you a lot in terms of your career, that's for sure, because I remember you telling me a little bit earlier that in your early 30s, in your very first day of the company, of your job, you were already in an emergency mode. You were told that employees had gone on a strike and you had to fix it. I guess you didn't even have your name badge yet. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? How did that turn out?
Yeah, that was very nice. It was when I became, in fact, the CEO of Asia for the group Hutchinson and Mappa, and it was in Malaysia. So it's true. I remember all my life. I was in a taxi turning left. There was 2 facilities, and 600 people were in the middle of the street striking.
My God.
So I had to introduce myself and talk to them. And because I knew that I was going to Malaysia, I took some classes of Malay. So I was able to talk a little bit about Malay in Malaysian to them, and they were positively surprised because the previous MD was not doing that. And so I was in the middle of the crowd, and talked to them, it was too much, introduce myself only. And then after 15, 20 minutes, all the union leaders were around me. And so we went to the meeting room and tried to discuss and solve the problem. And it was successful because, in fact, at first, I was sent there to take back the control of the company, but also to close 1 facility out of the 4 that we had in Malaysia. But I decided not to do it. And I proposed to the CEO of the worldwide group to not close, but develop operational excellence, which we have done. And 3.5 years later, when I left, Malaysia was a reference in the group in terms of performance, and I had to teach or share, let's say, my experience and how to do it with Brazilian people, Mexican people, MDs. And maybe if I can share something which was, for me, very special. When I left on the last day, Penang, north of Malaysia, there was a factory, and I took the plane from this airport. And the employee of the factory, we are at the airport, tell me bye-bye. And it was very emotional. I say, why, Michel, are you leaving? But that was a great experience.
Wow, that's very fascinating, Michel. But I wonder, I'm so certain many people are wondering now, what came to your mind when you are in, as you said, in the taxi or in the car going to work, and then you find out there is a strike, 600 people in a strike on your first day. What was in your mind? What is the first thing that came to your mind, like in an emergency mode? You don't know what to expect. You don't know how people are going to react. Even they're not going to be in their best, let's say, mental or psychological state of mind to even greet the new CEO. So what was in your mind, and what made you feel so determined you could cope with it?
It's a very good point. In fact, to be fair, I was not scared. Because I was going to meet the previous CEO was going to leave. And I went into this office with him at first, before meeting the employees. And he told me, Michel, okay, don't worry, I will take care of it. Okay. And he started to take the phone and call the police and the union and the lawyers. And I told him, stop. Don't do that. Please go home, pack your stuff and leave. And I said, I want to meet them. And then the HR director came to see me. It was the first time we met, and said, no, Mr. Moulin, because they did not choose my first name, you cannot go there. It might be dangerous. I said, it will not be dangerous because they don't know me anyway. Yeah. So, and then we went there and I talked to them as I told you. But strangely enough, I was not scared of anything. Maybe I was maybe not thinking enough. I don't know. But I went through, and maybe I kind of had a sense that, okay, they were striking. And in my previous career, I had to manage also strikes and the union not happy, but it was never in a dangerous way, even though one day they destroyed my car, but that was in the automotive industry. So maybe I went through that. The fact that I did a lot of competition with a lot of challenge, because I always did competition. So maybe all this combined came to me at once and to say, okay, Michel, go through that and it will be good. I don't have a recipe. If I have to share this to other colleagues who might have a strike, for sure, stay calm. It's part of a business behavior. It's how it works. The employees, they have to express their way to get something. And very often it's through strikes. It's part of it. It's true that in France, we are well known for that. So maybe I've been also trained with strikes as a normal behavior. But for sure, you have to go with the flow and keep calm and think about what you can do about the situation. And I guess this is what I did.
Lovely. So I would say probably, showing to them that you are one of them. You went there, you went to the floor, you didn't talk from a distance, you didn't use anybody in between you to give them the message. You wanted to say, hey, I'm here also, I'm here to understand you. I think show this level of compassion towards what they are living, other than show that you are against what they are doing. I think probably that's where I read that people said, you know what, he's here to address it. He's not running away or sending somebody on his behalf, or even trying to have any repercussion about what we're doing. I think they felt heard. So they felt heard, they felt understood, they felt they were valuable enough that you wanted to go there yourself and talk to them. I think that was probably a good message here. And as you said, staying calm, because how can you give somebody else any idea of calmness when you're not there? So you were calm first. It's literally lead by the example. So be that person you want others to be. So you were calm and you brought them this calmness, I'm certain. So this is very fascinating. And I guess, Michel, that tells me a lot about preparing you for what would come much later on down the years, which is just recently during pandemic. I know you had a very tough situation, especially in China, when everything was in lockdown. And then again, you were faced with a situation. What do we do? How do we operate? How do we continue business? And I would love to hear more about it. And how did you manage to be so successful during this tough time, if you're able to go through the story for us?
Well, I would say the key words I would like to share, because I think this has been driven all my life, is to be genuine, to have a genuine empathy for the people. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you are at a higher level, I would say, of the organization, we might forget a little bit where we come from. And I think my family has helped me, raise me to make sure I don't forget that, and to have a genuine empathy. And I think in Malaysia, it's really what happened. I talked to them as a normal guy, not as a CEO, and I tried to solve problems with them. We had kind of a deal, say, okay, if I solve these 3 problems, do you stop the strike? They say yes. China was the same, Isabelita, in the sense that the operators, they had a tough time because they could not go to the factory, and if they don't go to the factory, they cannot get the overtime that usually they do every month as a supplement of income from them, which is very important. So we understand that as a management, because of course I was talking also with all the leaders of China, and genuine empathy was a key success factor. Maybe for the audience, what I have to share that we had to close 2 factories because we built a new one, a bigger one, a beautiful one. And we have to transfer all the employees from these 2 factories to the new factories. So of course you have union negotiation, because you don't transfer the people like that. They need to be willing to do it. Otherwise it will not be a positive attitude. And at the same time that we are doing that, as you say, we had the lockdown in China, where for 1 month we could not ship, we could not invoice, we could not receive raw material, and the employees who were locked in the plant could not go back home. They had to sleep in the factory. So as anecdote for your audience, we had to deliver fridge, washing machine to make sure they can wash their clothes, put their food on the cold conditions. We had to deliver some beds. So it was really tricky because delivery, as I say, was very difficult. So we have to find ways to make it happen. And then that created a sense of community and teamwork. And from the outside, you see the result of China right now, which are fantastic. We doubled the profitability despite this COVID and this lockdown. But nobody can see the detail of what has been done with everyone, from operator to leadership. I give you an example. We had 2 cities, Kunshan and Taichung. And employees from Kunshan, they had to go to Taichung. But because of COVID, they were blocked. Buses could not go. So management with their own cars, they were getting the employees back and forth for them to go to the factory. So of course, this created a very strong link between leadership and employees. Mm-hmm. And now we have, in fact, COVID was very beneficial in terms of team spirit, because we went through all together that part. But again, genuine empathy is key. because you really want to do the good for your employees, and then you will get the best of them as well. And of course, to not give up on the objective, because we really wanted to deliver to the customer, make sure the company survived. We had a new plant to run, but unfortunately with nobody in it because of this COVID. Wow. I'm so passionate about it because the team really did a fantastic job. I had 2 plant managers in the past. They slept in their car in the factory to make sure they are not stuck at home when they go home after, and to make sure they can go back to the factory. So these are small little examples.
Wow, this is, I really wish I could interview them and understand what's the key element that made them feel so literally involved at heart. And just like you say, leadership at heart, it really justifies in everything that you're talking about, because the level of involvement that you have on a personal level is probably what makes the whole difference about these people feeling that this is their baby, this is their business, and this is their goal to get things running and to reach the success, which are the corporate goals, but also their recognition. I clearly see that there's a lot of, on a personal level, people feel recognized for what they are, and they feel the value for, you know, how much you care for them as well. So I guess this is really beyond any kind of, you know, efforts and you know, having to sleep in the office, in the company, because they couldn't go out and still producing and doubling their results. This is really exceptional, Michel. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. You know, respect is really key. I can give you an example. Nothing to do with the company I'm working with, but in the past, when I was in US for another company, we had a factory in Mexico, in Tijuana.
Okay.
And that was kind of let's say the way of the managers, we are Americans, could have a different view on the Mexican team. Mm-hmm. And in fact, by bringing more respect on the value of everyone, the Mexican team was outperforming after. So of course I had to do some change, implementation, but express that everyone is different. And it's why the cultural aspect is very important. And overall, I would say from my experience, worldwide, everybody needs and wants respect. But the way we express it in terms of communication could be extremely different if you're talking to a Chinese person or a Mexican guy or American or French person, because the level of leverage negotiation points are not the same for everyone based on the culture. But respect is still the same to be done.
This gets me very curious about something, Michel, because I've been talking to a lot of executive leaders, which it seems very interesting. Whoever comes to this show, very, very multicultural. But now comes my question to you. So I understand when you're talking to different leaders from different nationalities and backgrounds, there is an adjustment, there is a preparation because you already have this awareness. And this, in a way, let's say, somehow is straightforward. But now, for instance, when you're dealing with 600 people, or when you're dealing with a big mass of people and you have to transfer some kind of, you know, management change, and this is across different cultures, different countries, and it has to be in a way, let's say, standardized because it's a company culture or policies or culture. How is that done? And how can you get one message, or how can you get the conversion of changes that will happen, which have to be implemented across all levels and all cultures? How do you get that done? How do you transfer that communication across different cultures?
I would say you have 2 levels. If I talk myself to the employees of a specific country, I would tend to use practical example of their life, not the example of my life. Mm-hmm. So then they can relate to it. So if I want to talk about working capital for a company, what does that mean, a working capital for a family? Because some of the people don't have the financial background, the financial educations, and so it's always complex to talk about account receivable, inventory, etc., account payable. So I try to convert as much as possible the financial indicator on practical daily life for them, so they can really relate and say, oh yeah, that's important, it's true. But this is when I can talk directly. When I cannot talk directly, for example, I was a CEO of a company with 4,000 employees, with 15 factories in the world, then a business system is required. The business system has 2 components. A component which drives the manager behavior, to make sure that the manager behaves according to the values that you want to implement in the group worldwide. And the second thing is that how do you help this manager to deploy the policy that you want to implement? So the visibility of the KPIs are one tool. The objective deployment is another tool. The Kaizen Center, the Kaizen spirit is another tool. But the manager behavior is a key element here, Isabelita, in a sense that few times in my life, I cross some leadership who are not totally, let's say, in line with compliance or with ethic. And this has to be stopped right away. And when you stop it right away and you lead by example, the middle management and employees and operators, they see it right away as well. And then you are getting credibility. So when you gain this credibility, not that they trust you and they want to go with you right away, but they give you an opportunity. So you have some time, let's say 1, 2, 3 months, 4 months, to show them that, yeah, okay, you gave me the credibility, it was worth it. And during this period of time, you have to change the manager's behavior, leadership behavior, to make sure that after they can deploy the policy that you want to implement. But it has to go fast. And the pace is key. In terms of performance, when you have different culture, there is one indicator that I like a lot. It's the sales. It's not a surprise for anybody. Of course, every month we have to hit the target. But you will be extremely surprised each time I go in a company and I say, oh, by the way, how much sales do we have to do next month? What is in the budget? And they don't know. So if you don't know which goal you want to reach, and when I say you don't know, sometimes top manager, middle manager, even more because they don't have this communication. So the pace is not there. They don't know how much they have to ship. They don't know how much they have to book. And you don't have the pace, so you don't have this positive pressure. So then the action plan are not moving as fast as you wish. And then the snowball is not growing. But when you say every day or every week, okay, guys, we have to reach, let's say an example, 10 million this month. Where are we today? And then you check with some KPIs, then it creates a pace, creates a rhythm. And then everybody's on their toes. But of course, you have to support them to make sure that you remove the roadblocks. So in a nutshell, I would say manager behavior is key first. Then you have a system to deploy your policy across the organization using practical example of their own life to understand, and then to set a pace to make sure that everybody is moving at the same same time, or at least as fast as possible. That would be my suggestion, what I've done at least in the past.
That's really interesting. So it's definitely having a system into place while being that, really having that panoramic view. I love calling the panoramic view, because unless you have the panoramic view and you know where your goal is, how close you're getting there, you're not able to measure what is the distance that you have, because what distance do you have to a place where you don't know where you're going? So basically making sure everybody knows where we're going, what is the reason, what's the why we're getting there, and so what do we need to do now to reach that destination within that time frame, right? And what are the consequences positively for them and for the business? But what I like the most is the association to their personal lives. So this is fascinating because they feel in their skin and they see the objective and they see the advantages of getting those goals done. So, wow, fantastic. That's a lot of tips here. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Wow, it's been really amazing. I have one more question before we go to our last question, Michel. So if somebody wants to reach out to you and learn much more about leadership skills and, you know, all the topics we spoke about, multicultural environments, perhaps somebody's interested in coming to Asia. I mean, anything related to what you have done already in terms of operations and managing conflicts and teams and emergencies. So how can people reach out to you if possible?
Well, thank you for asking this question. You know, it's a pleasure for me to give back to the community. And I've been doing that for 4 years right now. Beside my normal job, I would say, I'm tend to help other CEOs, other friends who have some challenge within their organization, and then we chat and we exchange on the experience that we could do. So anyone is welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's very easy to send a message, and I will be pleased to answer. And leadership, it's really something which is extremely close to my heart. Because all the techniques everybody can learn, but to deploy based on a different culture is something that I would be willing to share and discuss with anyone on LinkedIn with pleasure.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much for being available to that. I really appreciate it. And now we go to my last question. So, if you were to look back in hindsight, maybe, you are now 20 years ahead, 30 years ahead from now, and you are to look back, what would you like to consider to be your legacy? How would you like to have left this impression and impact in people's lives that came across your career?
I would say it will. It's an important question, and I start to realize what I really want to have for the last 5 to 7 years now. I would say, as a summary, I believe that we have two judges: the results and our own team. So, from the result point of view, for sure, when I leave a company and I've been creating value for the shareholders, it's like in a competition. When you finish the race, you have a medal. You are happy, This part is fulfilling me a lot. So I want the shareholders to be happy with the value creation that I have done as a person with the team. And then after the team, I always enjoy when I see the team developing themselves, either the team, but as well as the individual, because I see some individual. I give you an example, for example. In China, there is a young lady, she's 30 years old, and she was what I call a hidden talent. And I met that all along my career. So to find this hidden talent and to expose them, to give them a big responsibility because I believe they can do it, support them, and then suddenly they achieve it. They achieve great results. And I see in their eyes sparkling, say, oh my gosh, I'm able to do it. And then they can move to the next step. And I believe they don't forget that part. And they are giving a chance as well to new young talent that they will drive in the future. Today, you are from Brazil. Today, I still receive emails from colleagues that I put in this kind of position, maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and they are still thankful. And this is very, very rewarding for me. So to give good value to the shareholder, because it's like winning a competition, and to see the team developing and passing along this baton of growing for talent and individual basis as well.
I would, if you allow me, I would conclude by saying scaling happiness.
I like that. I like that. It's a good summary. Yes, maybe if I can have a little contribution on that part.
One person happy, and that scalability as a result from the one person that you touched one by one, they were able to scale that. I even get goosebumps literally just by thinking about it. So this is amazing. And I do believe myself a lot that although we have goals in life, whether it's for corporations, whether it's for us to maintain ourselves moving forward in our careers, or even personal goals that are very personal. However, I think what really, really matters is always the process that we go through, because we never know, what can happen on this life. So if you are touching one person's life one day at a time, I think you already everything is worth going through it, whatever happens down the road, right? So this is really amazing. I really appreciate your story. It's really, really amazing what you shared with us now. So Michel, unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap up for today. I really hope you can come back to the show. We can talk much more about those, those beautiful things that you're sharing with us, how to touch people's lives and how to help talents develop more talents so more people can be happy at work and in life. So thank you so much for being here today. It's been absolutely amazing having you in the show.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It was a real pleasure to share. If it has some benefit to your audience and if they want to share with me later on some discussion, it will be with great pleasure.
Lovely. Thank you so much. I'm certainly going to have loads of feedback on that and all good stuff. So everyone, thank you so much for watching and being part of this community. We hope you have enjoyed and feel ready to revamp up your career with the insights shared by Michel Moulin. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to this channel to get amazing insights from top elite executives across the world. And until next time, stay blessed.